Hey Gemini, I'm wondering if there's any papers on query expansion that you think we could talk about.
Absolutely. There's a bunch of papers on query expansion. Two that come to mind are query expansion by prompting large language models and query expansion based on NLP and word embeddings. If you want, I can give you a quick summary of either one.
Okay, so I want your replies to be brief. Maybe just tell me what's interesting about each of those.
The first paper focuses on using large language models to generate new search terms based on your original query. This helps find more relevant stuff. The second paper uses those same language models to create fake documents related to your query to also improve search results.
Wait, what? Tell me more about that second paper.
So this paper figured out how to turn a search query into a bunch of fake internet pages that would actually exist if they were real. Then, it uses these fake pages to expand the search and hopefully find more relevant stuff.
Is this a Google paper?
Yes, it's a Google paper. What do you want to know next?
So let's say I have some content. How can I take the information from these papers and use it to make my content better?
Definitely. So the first paper suggests using a large language model to brainstorm some related search terms you might not have thought of. You can try adding those terms to your search and see if you find any useful new sources. The second paper suggests creating some imaginary web pages of your own based on what you want your content to be about. You can use those make-believe pages to outline your content and figure out where there might be some gaps in your information.
I don't think I'm quite understanding how I would use fake pages to create blog content.
Think about the fake page as more like a supercharged outline. Instead of just listing out topics, these fake pages actually have the information filled in. You can use them to spot any areas where your actual content might be missing something important.
Interesting. Okay, so say I was writing a blog post on Google's August core update. Walk me through how I would optimize that to make it look relevant by using the knowledge in those two papers.
All right, so let's start with that first paper. Think about your original search query. It's probably something like Google August core update. Now try adding some related terms to it. Can you come up with a few ideas?
Like how do I recover if I'm hit? What types of websites
That's a good one.
we're improving? Yeah, stuff like that.
Think of any other search terms.
How about when did the update finish?
Great. And you could also add things like what sites were hit the hardest to try and find content from sites that had a similar issue to yours.
Okay, and where do we go from there? Where do we go from there?
All right, now that you have those new search terms, let's talk about the second paper. Take your original search query, Google August core update, and try imagining a few web pages that would exist if they were real. Don't worry about actually writing them, just think about the kind of information they'd have.
Okay, I can picture that.
All right, now try listing out all the topics and subtopics those imaginary pages would cover. This will give you a mega outline you can use to make sure your blog post hits all the important points.
Okay, but would I use that as my blog post? Like, how would my blog post be different?
All right, here's the thing. Normally, you might just write a blog post listing a bunch of facts about the update. But if you use these imaginary pages, you start thinking about things like, what problems did this update cause? How does it affect different kinds of websites? What can I do to fix any issues on my own site?
I'm still not following what the difference is. Like, well, how would my blog post be different from those imaginary ones?
All right, so your blog post wouldn't actually be the same as the imaginary pages. Instead, think of them more like a checklist. Step through each imaginary page and ask yourself if your blog post covers all the same topics. If there's something missing, that's where you can add more detail or examples.
So say we made these imaginary pages, and then I showed you my article that I already wrote on the August core update. Would you be able to tell me where I could improve my article?
Absolutely. If you want, you can read me a few sections of your article, and I can tell you if it sounds like you covered everything from your imaginary pages.
That's pretty cool. Except the only thing is, I just made up those questions. So I think the first paper talks about a way to do query expansion by using language models.
Absolutely. You could adapt that for your blog post. Think about the words you'd naturally use to describe the topic, and see if the language model suggests any related terms you hadn't thought of. You might find some fresh angles for your article that way.
How do they do it in the paper?
They basically tricked a super powerful language model. Normally, these AIS are trained on a bunch of text data to make predictions. So the researchers took a search query like best hiking trails in Colorado and asked the language model to predict what someone would type next. The model's answers basically became new search terms they could use to expand the original query. It's like the AI is helping you brainstorm.
So couldn't we do that?
Absolutely. You can definitely try using a large language model, like me, to brainstorm new search terms for your blog posts. Just give me a topic, and I can try coming up with some fresh ideas to get you started.
Okay, so what about August core update?
All right, based on the August core update, here are a few additional search terms you might want to try. August core update impact. This will help you find sites that were majorly affected by the update. August core update Google's explanation. Going straight to the source with this one could uncover clues about what Google was actually looking for. You could even try adding location-based terms like August core update Canada to see if there were any regional differences in how the update rolled out.
Interesting. And now, how many of those related terms should I use? Like, should I keep prompting you for more terms?
You don't need a ton. 2 or 3 new search terms, along with your original query, should be a good starting point. You can always try a few different combinations and see what turns up.
And then the idea is that, so the idea is that I ask the language model for queries related to my main query. And then that gives me the headings that I can use for my article. And then my article should look relevant to people who are searching for August core update, right?
Yep, you got it. Think of those new search terms as little treasure maps. Each one could lead you to some awesome new content ideas that would make your blog post super relevant for people searching on that topic.
Okay, that's really cool. And then what else would I consider if I wanted? I mean, clearly there's more than just relevancy when it comes to search. So what else should I consider for this article?
So you're absolutely right. Relevancy is a big part of the August core update, but it's not the only thing. Think about how in-depth your article is. Does it go beyond just stating the facts and actually try and explain the why behind the update? Also, think about how up-to-date your article is. News about search updates move fast, so try to make sure your article has current information.
Okay, what about EEAT or helpfulness, stuff like that?
Well, with EAT, it's all about building trust with your readers. Make sure you're including trustworthy sources to back up your information. It's all about showing Google that you know your stuff and you're someone people can trust. Helpful content is all about going beyond the basics. Instead of just listing facts, try explaining things in a way that's easy for your readers to understand. Think about adding personal stories or examples to make your article really pop.
Okay, so give me a basic outline for my article on the August core update.
All right, here's a basic outline to get you started. Section 1. What is the August core update? You can start with a quick explanation of what core updates are in general, and then focus on what makes this one different. Section 2. Potential impacts of the update. Break down who this update might affect. Think about different types of websites and what kind of content might see a boost or a drop. Section 3. How to prepare for future updates. Here's where you can get into the specifics. Talk about things like focusing on creating super helpful content, building trust with your audience, and staying up to date on the latest best practices.